Today I fucked up by getting an AncestryDNA test done. So I have read many fuck-ups and horror stories from people who have done these mail-in DNA tests and have made shocking discoveries about their family. But I never thought in 100 years it would happen to me. I recently had an AncestryDNA test done because my boyfriend had gotten them for himself and me as a gift. Well, I finally got the results back, and I had a number of close matches with people I had never heard of and don't know. I mean, like super close, like we share a huge amount of DNA. So today I get a message from one of them saying hi and asking if my parents ever used a sperm donor. I'm like, not that I know of. She then goes on to say she has 8 half-siblings, now 9 with me, and that they all share the same biological father from a sperm donor. She says she's not sure how I would approach my parents about this or if I even want to, and also mentions that all of these individuals' families are from the same area in my state and they even have a group chat where they all talk to each other often. She says they are all super great people. So I am just utterly confused at this point, and my mind is completely blowing up at the idea that my father, who I have known my whole life as my dad and biological parent, is not my actual father. I then proceeded to text my parents in a group with a screenshot of that person's message from AncestryDNA, and I'm like, is there something you guys would like to tell me? So after about 15 minutes my mom calls me, and at first she's like, wait, what was that message and who sent it? Like she's acting all confused. But then after I explain, she just sighs and is like, are you sitting down? I'm like, what the fuck? Well, long story short, when my parents were first trying for a kid, they couldn't get pregnant because my dad had some kind of medical issue. They tried all kinds of fertility treatments but none would work. After they learned what was wrong with my dad, he got surgery, but at the same time they were also using a sperm donor in an attempt to conceive. My mom said when they were having these donor treatments or whatever, they would be intimate, gross, I don't want to think about it, at the same time, so they wouldn't know if the conceived whether it would be from my dad or the sperm donor. And, apparently, they didn't want to know. Well, the surgery, my dad has corrected his issue and they were able to naturally have kids after, so my 2 younger brothers are definitely my dad's. But yet my mom said her and my dad always knew there was a chance but they never wanted to know, and now both they and I know I am a sperm donor child. This definitely doesn't change anything about how I feel about my parents or my dad or our relationship, but it's certainly a massive shock. I never thought I would be in one of these situations. So there you have it, folks, that's how my day is going. But I guess I will continue to talk to the woman who is my half-sibling, and I'm even thinking about joining this group chat to get to know my, as far as I know right now, 8 other half-siblings. My head is still spinning and I have even cried a little, but I think it is still going to take a while to come to terms with this newfound discovery. Too long didn't read, had an AncestryDNA test done, found out my dad is not my real father and I am the child of a sperm donor. Dude, you just got a bigger family without trying. I hope they are all awesome people. Welcome to the club. I did 23andMe a couple years ago and found out, at 37 years old, my dad wasn't my bio dad. My parents never told me or anyone else, or because they didn't think it was important and because his side of the family are shitty about people that aren't blood. Although it was a shock, I honestly don't care. My dad is my dad. He raised me. He taught me how to do derivatives before my math teacher did. He took me on a 4-hour drive to see the Mets play even though he had no interest in baseball. When I was a teen, he gave me an index card ticket to the Leaning Tower of Pisa because when I was 4 he said we couldn't go up because it was too expensive. My dad, with all his quirks, is who I will mourn when he passes because he is the best dad a kid could ask for. The guy I got half my DNA from? Don't know, don't care. My dad is the guy that wanted me so bad he and my mom went to a fertility doctor when that sort of thing wasn't really done or talked about. I'm sorry you found out the way you did. That really sucks and I've been there. But it also gave me a new appreciation for who my dad is. Edited for words. Could have been worse. Read a few of these about people who discovered their conception was a dark family secret. Glad you're handling the shock well and got some answers. It's weird, isn't it? I also have a new to me sibling. My mother had gotten 23andMe years ago. She got her results and posted them online, too. I thought, possibly find her birth family. She's adopted. I've always known she was adopted. We've always talked about it. You know what my parents never talked about? The first child they had, who they had given to be adopted. That part I completely understand, no question. Who they never mentioned at all. This sibling's children found a link and now this sibling is in contact with my parents. Our parents, really. I've been in touch too. It's weird. I don't mind sibling at all. I can't wrap my head around not knowing. I know it's different from you. Your DNA and biology aren't what you thought they were. I just happen to have a new piece of my family. It's just, I don't even know. Not bad. Mostly good. Weird. As the other sibling I have says, at least we now have more options for spare kidneys if we need them. Others have given the usual "your real dad is the one that loves and raised you" advice, which is perfectly accurate. However, it would be a good idea to get a copy of medical history of the bio dad, probably available from the other people in that chat group, just in case something happens in the future. You can't know how much can rely on an accurate family medical history when you get sick with some unknown chronic issue. I don't think I will ever be able to find out who my bio dad is. My other half siblings have apparently done a ton of research and have an idea of who they think the donor is, but obviously they can't be sure. Everything was done anonymously and I feel like I should and have to respect that, as the donor may or may not want to find out / meet his children. It just sucks knowing I probably will never know. Today I fucked up by calling the police on my own surprise party. Obligatory, this didn't happen today, it actually happened almost 10 months back. A little bit of context, I am an 18-year-old male living in Austria, with my parents and twin sister currently, and I have never really celebrated my birthday by throwing a party for my friends. So my friends decided to throw me a surprise party for my 18th birthday at my parents' house. The FU happened the day after my birthday actually. On my actual birthday my family and I celebrated my sister's and my birthday, by eating a slice of cake and getting some small presents. Nothing special. Since my birthday was on a Sunday I had to go to school the next day, only a few days left before the holidays started. Since it was Monday I had a few more hours of mandatory extra chemistry lab which took until around 1700 hours, so by the time I was heading home it was already quite dark. I figured I would be home alone for at least a few hours, since my parents both worked late on Mondays and probably would get home at around 10 to 11 o'clock, and my sister almost always spent her evening at her girlfriend's house, so I assumed I wouldn't see her either. Now to the actual FU. When I arrived at the bus stop near my house it was already really dark and only the street lanterns lit up the streets. On the way home from the bus stop I saw the light in our house go on for a few seconds and immediately go back off. I was instantly alarmed as I knew no one should be home at the moment. So I went up closer to the house and checked our driveway if any car was there. There was no car, so neither my parents nor my sister could, rather should, be home, as my mother and father always left with one car in the morning and my sister always took the other one when driving to her GF. At this point my heart rate was probably around 170 already. I remained in the driveway for a few seconds and then I actually heard a voice from inside, which sounded like a male's voice, although I didn't recognize it, of the house, and I completely freaked out. I backed up really quickly from the house towards the other side of the street and called to police from behind some bushes on the roadside. I told them I heard a voice inside of our house, although no one should be there. They told me to stay calm, keep my distance, and that they would send a unit down here ASAP. Around 15 minutes later the police arrived and surrounded the house. There were around 4 policemen/women there, and one of them knocked on the door. No response. At this point even a few more police officers had arrived. Got out of the car with some kind of battering ram. Long story short, they broke down the front door and ran into the house with their tasers or guns or something out, couldn't really see all that much in the dark, and shouted something like, "Police, show us your hands." When that happened I could hear shrieks and screams and people being escorted out of the house to our front yard. You guessed it right. They were my friends and my sister, who had, intelligent as she is, parked her car somewhere else to make me think she isn't home. I instantly tried to defuse the situation and apologized profusely to the police officers who had just tried to arrest my closest friends. In the end, my friends invited the policemen/women in for a cup of coffee and a slice of cake, although they sadly couldn't stay for more than a few minutes since they got a message over their walkie-talkie thingies and they had to set off immediately. Ever since this has happened, we have a great story to laugh about at every single birthday party. Too long didn't read. I came home to my parents' house in which no one should have been, empty driveway, and called the police after I heard a voice inside. Turns out it was just my friends who wanted to throw me a surprise party at my own house. This is the best fuck up ever, and to top it off, you successfully flipped the surprise on them. Door crashes down, surprise motherfuckers. I told you to keep the lights off. Nah mate, this turned out to be wholesome, but you could have been in serious danger. Criminals in the house and such. You 100% did the right thing. The today I fucked up is on your sister and friends. When throwing a surprise party, it's important to have an accomplice escort the recipient. An appropriate reaction, smart thinking on your part to keep yourself as safe as you could be. That's the problem with surprises. They work both ways. Today I fucked up by not asking my fiancé for my keys. Update and edit 2, still figuring out Reddit. To those with patience and some basic empathy, thank you. To all the grammar police out there, it's Reddit. Chill the F out. Unless you never make a mistake, get off your high horse. Anyways, I changed all my locks in my house, and same with resetting the garage door opener and whatnot. Feel safer BC of that. Also bought a camera and installed it. No word on the car. Should be all set with insurance as well. Waiting for a follow-up call tomorrow to tell me what the plan is for my new car. Everyone should have comprehensive insurance for these type of fuck-ups. They didn't give a shit whose fault it was. In response to the neighborhood comments, it really is a nice suburban neighborhood with virtually no crime. Think my car is like the one a year that gets stolen. Cops think it was someone from the nearby city checking every car until they found an open one. Lastly, attempted for a second time to fix the post since it was still written terribly, but I'm sure I'll still get complaints. It's Reddit after all. My FU happened yesterday. Just realizing and finding out the consequences now. My fiancée rarely drives my car, she has her own. Generally there is no reason for her to drive mine. My car has a push start button, important later. Anyways, yesterday my fiancée found something she wanted to buy on Facebook Marketplace that was far away, but could only fit in my car. I was being lazy and didn't want to drive and had no interest in the item. So I told her to take my car. Before she left, but had already grabbed the keys and walked to the car, I realized she was going to need my help carrying the item. So I get in the passenger seat in my car, she was already in the driver's seat. She drives to the place, we get the item and come back. Normally, I would have asked my fiancé for my keys so I could put them in the spot that I always place them in the house when I walk in. Here is the FU, I just didn't ask BC. She's very consistent in doing so herself with her keys. I figured she would put them where we both always do, since she drove and was the one who brought them into the car. Also I FU by being lazy and not running to the store later last night, like I had intended. Would have fixed the issue. Anyways, I live in a nice neighborhood, own my own house, and car was in my driveway last night. Go to leave for work this morning and it's gone. Fun times. Apparently my fiancé forgot the keys were in the center console and forgot to grab them. BC she didn't need to pull them out of the ignition. Her car is old school where she has to put the keys in the ignition still, so not having to do that I guess made her forget to take them out of the car. Cops on their way now. Fiancé feels awful. I really don't blame her. Just a product of several bad decisions and asshole people. Too long didn't read. Fiancé drove my car. Not used to a push to start button. Left keys in car overnight in my driveway. Was stolen by some asshole. Edit, rewrote this a little bit since it was written terribly and several people, rightfully, pointed that out. Still could have been articulated better, but still being lazy lol. What else was on your keychain? House keys, work keys? Be mindful of everything else, not just your car in this situation. Yeah, change your locks. Someone was brazen enough to take your car out of your driveway, and now they likely have your house keys. They will be more than comfortable enough to use those keys to get into your house as well. Even if you get the car and keys back, you can't trust that no one made duplicates, and changing locks is cheap. Edit, and as u/Animkfucksmith noted, change the code to your garage door opener, if you have one. Ouch, I'm sorry this happened. I hope it all works out. I've been there. Back in the early 90s I had just finished a full restoration on a 1970 Pontiac GTOW/455. Drove it to my GF's to show off my work and ended up staying over. Woke up the next morning to it missing. Cops found it across town wrapped around a telephone pole. I found a woman's brush and lipstick in the passenger seat. We assume it was stolen for a joyride. I put every penny I had into the car. I worked 2 jobs and finished my college degree all while completing the rebuild only to drive it once. Dirty Mike and the boys are gonna have a soup kitchen in it. I am having a really shitty day due to this, but this gave me a little chuckle, so thank you. Honestly should have more upvotes. My car has a push start button but the key stays in my pocket. Problem is I've forgotten on 2 occasions at least to turn the engine off as I was distracted. Came back hours later to a running engine. Thankful the car was still there and still had fuel. It doesn't honk at you if you step away from the car without shutting it off. We had regular keys, but a very similar situation where we walked out of the house and the car was gone. It is such a shitty day. Our insurance said we had 3 weeks for the car to be found or it would be written off. It was found 5 weeks later and had obviously hotboxed. But other than that, no physical damage. Insurance paid for detail work and deep cleaning and car was fine. He posted pictures of the car and any decals we had on the car as well as the license plate on Facebook and made it public so it could be shared. We also called into a few radio stations and one did a quick bit on it. It was found a few blocks away. If you get a chance to drive your community, I would drive every street within 10 blocks or so to look for it. I also checked with gas station down the street to see if they had security footage to try to figure out which way car left from neighborhood. It is such a violating feeling to have your car taken and it made me feel unsafe at home as well. I get where you are at right now and it just sucks. Wishing for the best and a quick return. Thanks for the good advice.